My name is Nino Bernardo. It's a name that really doesn't fit this face. That's because my mother was half Chinese and half Filipino. And my father is half Filipino and half Catalan. I was born in Hong Kong. And I moved to Macau when I was little. I was born just after the Japanese occupation. And grew up in Macau, speaking Portuguese, went to school in Portuguese. At the age of 16 and at 13, I moved to Hong Kong. At the age of 16, I was boxing. But I wasn't boxing in a boxing club. Somebody had 2 pairs of old, torn leather boxing gloves, and we went up to the rooftop where we always go to play. That's our playground because of the lack of space. And there, at the age of 16, you wanted to make yourself look cool for the girls. It wasn't until I was much older that I discovered Wing Chun. I must have been about 21. I didn't know anything about Chi Sao. I didn't know anything about Wooden Dummy. I didn't know anything about Ip Man. I did not know anything about Bruce Lee. It was my own insecurity. I wanted to carry what would be an alternative to a gun. You know, I wanted a weapon. And then one day, one of my friends told me, hey, I found a Wing Chun school. And there was where I met my teacher, Wong Sun Leong. You see, when I left Hong Kong and I went to live in London, I didn't want to be a teacher. That wasn't my plan. I found one person from the same school, and he hadn't finished the system, okay? So he came to my place, and to this day, he calls me Sifu and I call him Si Hing. Sifu means he calls me master. And I call him Si Hing, older brother, because he is my older brother. Eventually, he brought in a friend, and at one point there were 4 of us. A Japanese guy, a Singaporean guy, a Hong Kong Chinese guy, and myself, and we trained together. They never paid me in money. My first student, English student, he asked me how much. So I gave him a tin. I cut a slit in the tin and I said, when I'm not looking, put some money in there, like a tip. Okay, and that's how money got involved. Eventually that group grew, and there was a group of about 16, 17 of us that we would just meet regularly. And for 20 years, we would train together. Well, this was 1984 when I found the basement and the group was there, we were training. I think it was the same year I met a well-known martial artist who came to London, and he wanted to meet me because he'd heard through the grapevine that a student of Wong was teaching in London. And that was when I got visited by magazine reporters and photographs got taken of me, and I got seduced and my ego took over, and I liked my picture in the magazine and I became famous. Okay, and that was the worst thing for me. Criticism is not bad because you can ignore them. Compliments is dangerous. If somebody who doesn't know anything about Wing Chun tells me I'm good at Wing Chun and I believe him, I'm a bigger idiot than him. But I was lucky. I had a small group and the same number of people stayed together for a long time. I still am lucky. I have really, really nice people training with me. Not very many, but that's good. I don't want many. I don't want a school with 200 students. I don't want a school with 20 students. I have about 5 or 6 people that train with me, and I'm happy because it gives me the room to study what I teach and to teach what I teach and share my information, my knowledge, my experience with a small group. It's much easier to have a family of 5 children than to have a family of 200 children. I don't think it's a sport. I don't think you can get a gold medal at the Olympics for doing Wing Chun. And if you did, there would be something wrong with it. You know, I wouldn't take it as a sport, but I take it as a very enjoyable activity in which it plays on your emotions, makes you familiar with your ability to lapse into anger or have a relapse of stupidity. And I think that's the most important part of it. And to sell the idea that if you come to me, I can teach you how to defend yourself against a baddie in the street is not true. I cannot do that. Find somebody who can. I can't. I will not teach you that. Okay, I will ask you to delete all the movies of your head because there's such a lot of publicity on Wing Chun and Kung Fu in general. People automatically think that you're a Bruce Lee. Any Kung Fu will not teach you to be stupid. If the person is bigger and stronger or he has a weapon, you just don't want to fight him. You want to avoid all those situations. So I tell all my students, the new students, delete combat, delete competition, delete self-defense from their computers, okay? Really, it is necessary. Study a fantastic system, a process that the Chinese developed a long time ago. And I say to my students, when you Wing Chun, don't fight. When you fight, don't Wing Chun. The legend is about a nun, Mui. She is supposed to have invented a system through having watched a fight between a snake and a crane. Yim Wing Chun was a young girl. Her dad was a seller. He sold tofu. There was a warrior who wanted to marry Yim Wing Chun. She didn't want to marry him, and so he started to put pressure on the father, giving him threats. At this point, somehow or other, Mui, the nun who invented the system, came into the picture. She said, let me have the girl come with me for about 3 months, and then you fight her with no weapons, empty-hand fight. If you win the fight, you marry the girl. If you lose the fight, you give her her liberty. And the fight took place and the girl won. Mui was so pleased with the result of the fight, she named the system that she taught to this girl, Yim Wing Chun. She named it after Wing Chun, this girl's name. But why would they say that it was invented by a woman? I think it was probably invented by both men and women, old men, who decided that the young men need to understand a little bit, to have a little ingredient, a feminine ingredient in their being. And I think the form gives you an attitude. The first form, Xiu Nim Tao. Xiu means young, small, little, less important. Nim, mentally present, mentally conscious. So I use the word consciousness, awareness. And then the last word, Tao, head, beginning, the chief, the boss. Okay, and if you take the first form and do the first form in that tone, in that attitude, and maintain that attitude during your practice, that is so in itself an emotion control, okay, a management, emotional management. So you might get excited, you might get angry, you might get wild. You have that, you maintain that, a poker face, a good poker player. Okay, the power is there, but it's contained. There, the posture, and the forms program a mechanism mechanics. It's just a preparation for the person to do a game which we call Chisao. Chisao is not fighting. It's a fantastic game. It's a beautiful game. It requires speed, not speed in movement, speed in decision. Recognizing stimulus and reacting to the stimulus at high speed doesn't mean moving fast. It means getting the answer fast. Okay? I say it's a game where you learn how to give intelligent answers to stupid questions. You can only work with somebody you like, a friend, a very, very good friend. You can work with that person, otherwise it will not work. Okay, you will get angry and the other person will get your anger, he'll contract your anger, and then things will just escalate, and then you reach acute stupidity, and that becomes dangerous. And when you get angry, that's a good friend will say, you're angry. Okay, and sometimes you deny. You have to learn how to control anger management. Anger promotes stupidity. This is what happens. The beauty about it is one level is when you recognize yourself getting angry. And when you recognize that, you can make a decision whether to get more angry or less angry. The wooden dummy is just a piece of wood with 3 arms and a leg. And it's not a precision tool. It is, however, a tool to fine-tune a precision tool. The precision tool that we fine-tune is the human body. Basically, it's just a piece of wood. Piece of wood with 3 arms and a leg. The knives and the pole. I was told that Wing Chun is an empty hand system, and to be recognized in the archives of Chinese martial arts, you have to have a metal weapon, and you also have to have a wooden weapon. So they introduced the pole and the knives to the Wing Chun system later. It got introduced. And I think that through the poles and the knives, you can see how the hands are used for Chisao, not for fighting, for Chisao. And it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's really clever. Somebody asked me, what does Wing Chun do for me? I'm still practicing today. It helps me reduce my own stupidity, and I've got a very, very big job. It's a big job for me, okay? And I also have a person who came to me once and said, why would I do Wing Chun? I said, well, it helps you become less stupid. And he said, but I'm not stupid. I said, well, then you don't need it. So there you have it, the essence of Wing Chun. It's taken me more than 40 years to arrive at some of these conclusions, and it's taken me just a few minutes to tell you. Play Wing Chun. Porque estou tão sozinho? Porque o mundo é tão triste? A beleza que existe, a beleza coisa que não é só minha, que também passa sozinha. Ah, se ela soubesse que quando ela passa, o mundo inteirinho se enche de graça e fica mais lindo por causa do amor. Oi, por causa do amor.